Dubbed the Shadowkin, the people of Yakai were forced to do Sirath's bidding. Many were dark deeds they had performed. Welcome to Raid Story Legends with me, LeilaFox. Hey, welcome to Raid Story Legends. I am LeilaFox. This is a YouTube series where I share lore from some of our favorite champs in Raid Shadow Legends. Now, today's story is actually about a faction. It is for the Shadowkin. Shadowkin are a brand new faction that was introduced to Raid Shadow Legends in update 3.4. Now, what's really fun about their lore story is it actually incorporates two other factions. So let's get right into the story. Here's the story for the Shadowkin faction, and I hope you enjoy. Far to the east of Teleria, beyond the cursed wastelands of the Brimstone Path, there lay the kingdom of Yakai, known to the other races as the Dawnlands. A land of plenty, where humans dedicated themselves to art and philosophy, free of strife that so often beleaguered their kin throughout history. They strove to build a society of honor and discipline, where the rulers were just, the warriors loyal and brave, the common man honest and hardworking. Some would say they succeeded, for a time, but no corner of the world is safe from the baleful eye of Sirath. When mortal alliances crumbled and the Arbiter's power waned, the servants of evil overwhelmed the kingdom's defenses and left it at the mercy of demon spawn legions. For centuries, the vile creatures ruled with an iron fist. Dissent was crushed without mercy. Children trained as cold-blooded killers. Abominations of half-demon blood were spawned into the world and brought into the ranks of Sirath's minions. Dubbed the Shadowkin after that conquest, the people of Yakai were forced to do Sirath's biddings. Many were the dark deeds they had performed in his name before. At last, they could stand for atrocity no longer. The Shadowkin rose against their demonic masters, launching a rebellion that lasted well over a century and left the fertile Dawnlands devastated. Yet, they stood victorious, free of the Dark One's yoke. To the people of Teleria, the Shadowkin had faded into myth. Many believed they were all killed or turned to demon spawn over the years, and not one soul expected these once proud warriors to return. Curiously, it was another resurgent kingdom that welcomed them. The dwarves had scouted and envoys braving the furthest reaches of Teleria to inform the Mountain King of what had become to the world above during their self-imposed exile. They were the first to make contact with the Shadowkin. Representatives of both factions met at the foot of the Nyre's Mountain and signed a pact that would become known as the Nyrean Union. As for the other great nations of Teleria, they regarded the Shadowkin with distrust or outright hostility. Some remembered the damage their forebears wreaked. Others saw the half-demon warriors as an abomination, an affront to Lemea. And who could fault them? Many Shadowkin still carry the curse of Sirath in their blood, and terrible was the suffering they had caused in the past. Indeed, there is much to atone for, and only time will tell if their honor can truly be regained in a new war against the forces of evil. So this is the story for the new Shadowkin faction. I really like this. As I mentioned before, this lore story intertwines two other factions. First, we have the demon spawn. So we have the Shadowkin that they start out as a very peaceful, very noble people who gets overrun and they get overtaken by the demon spawn. And this happens for such a long period of time, but eventually they decide to fight back. And when they fight back and they win, unfortunately at this point, they're pretty much alone. As this story says, this had gone on for so many centuries that their people had actually become like a myth. They became the things of legend, something that wasn't necessarily meant to be true or real, but yet we have the dwarves of all factions that decide to welcome them in with open arms. And we see this kind of thing very often in other games. Like I come from like World of Warcraft, for example. And you have Horde and Alliance. And it's so interesting when you follow the stories of what causes these different factions to align together, usually because of cruelty that was suffered from other factions. And in this one, unfortunately, because of what the Shadowkin had to endure in the name of Serath, and because they were pretty much working for Demon Spawn, they had no choice. They ended up causing so much pain and so much discourse in the other factions that the other factions wanted nothing to do with them. So it's very interesting to see what happens, and the story talks how the dwarves and the Shadowkin come together and create the Nyrisan Union, which also leaves room for 2 more factions to join into this group sometime down the road. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing, hitting the like, leaving a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you like the story for a Shadowkin? Do you love the fact that they added in other factions as much as I do? I would love to know what you think. Leave me some comments down below, and I look forward to sharing my next Raid Story Legends with you.